Hey there, everyone. So we are back today and had a little bit of a uh, rough start getting this one going. I don't know what was going on, but we're here today to continue. We're on the third part of how to create client-focused content for your brand. So for those of you who have been following along all week, we've been following the wedding poem, Old, New, Borrowed, and Blue. So we've covered old, repurposing, revisiting, and reintroducing your old content. And we have covered new. And that is, what new content are you sharing? And I've given you a really good system and way to continue on that path of sharing new content every week, right? Now we are going to move on to borrowed. And this one's actually one of my favorites because it's a way for you to get a little spicy if you want to. It's a way for you to share your strongly held beliefs. And yes, even if you're a peacekeeper, peacemaker personality, you still have pretty strong opinions, I promise. And this one also is, I feel like, a little bit misconstrued at times. So I want to explain that. I rant frequently about people who just like share somebody else's meme or quote and then just like post and run, like, great quote. You know, I think it's a huge waste of time. I don't think it's going to serve you. And I definitely don't think it serves your audience to do that. And we're all about creating client focused content, right? Client focused content for your brand. That's what I've written down below there. And the reason I don't like it, the reason I rant against it is, one, you're not making it your own. You're not telling anyone why those words or that meme or even just the thought or sentiment resonated with you. And that's a huge missed opportunity. So this is one of the content pieces that can be both really audience serving and self-serving for your business as well, if you do it well. So what does doing it well look like? It looks like finding an article or a quote that resonates with you, sharing it with your audience and saying why it resonated. It really often helps if it aids something that you're already teaching, of course, but even if it's not aiding something that you're teaching, it is the kind of thing that you can do really easily in your business to start making your authority known. So a really good example is I shared a article that Jay Acunzo wrote. He has a really great podcast. He's been in and around the content creating space for a while. And I subscribe to his newsletter, which comes out every Friday. And he had a really great article a couple weeks ago. I referenced it in a podcast I recently recorded. I think the podcast might be going live in 2 weeks, if I recall. Gave him credit fully. The article will be linked in the show notes, right? I'm giving credit where credit is due. But I also tied it into what I was talking about, which is how to set up content within your business, how to create your own benchmarks, right? Because I tied it into something that I am teaching, it lends authority to what I am teaching while still giving credit to the originator of the idea. And that right there is key. So if you're simply sharing someone else's words, someone else's quotes, I think that's great. But to make it your own, you have to give something of yourself in return. And that means, why did that matter to you? How can that help your audience? So when I share somebody else's thoughts and ideas, I want to make sure I can tie it into the things that I'm already teaching. Otherwise, it becomes a very like squirrel situation because you're just giving people a whole new idea that's completely separate from what you're talking about, right? So that is how we can borrow content and do it in a very client-focused, audience-serving methodology. It's a really great way to break up your old and new content. You're making it not all about you. It's also a really good way to build an audience because sometimes when you tag somebody that you're giving credit to, they then retweet or reshare your content and say, oh, this is a great perspective, or so-and-so is loving my article. And people will then click on you to go figure out what you are about. It may be a really great way to build your audience. So that's how it serves your business, in addition to serving your business by setting you up as a leading authority who is taking in the ideas around you, making them your own, and then turning them around to help your audience even further. All right, so that is how you guys can do borrowed content. We have at this point covered new, old, and borrowed. Obviously, tomorrow we'll be covering blue. That's probably the one that's going to be the most surprising to you. But if you haven't already seen the first 2 parts of this series, I highly recommend you go check it out. Even if you've never purchased anything from me, you don't own the Show Up system, you've never heard of Content Lab, anything like that, following this method of planning your content in a balanced way that focuses on your audience and the clients that you are serving is going to help you build more authority in the marketplace. So go check out the rest of that. It's available on my Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. I am spreading this one wide and deep. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My email address is up there in the corner. Say hi at BrittanyGardner.com. And if you want to hear a little bit more for free, I have the content creation prescription called Content RX. So if you go to BrittanyGardner.com/content RX, you can read a little bit about the 4 big content mistakes that people are still making in 2022 and the 3 kinds of content that you really do want to focus on. And little sneak peek, borrowed content, it is one of the mistakes, because as I referenced earlier in this video, I think a lot of people are not doing it well and missing a huge opportunity for their businesses as a result. All right, if you have any questions, again, reach out, and I'll see you guys back tomorrow.